Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back, welcoming you to Answering the Bell with Stormybman, this Sunday morning call-in show for this Sunday, October 9th, 2022. It's a glorious day. You woke up, hopefully in your right mind. And we are here, back again to talk some boxing this Sunday morning. This is number 57 in the series of call-in shows. We're moving right along, man. It's like a full year and a week worth of shows of the Sunday morning call-in show could not be possible without your participation, your support, and your desire to be here with me to talk about the sport that we all profess to love. And I want to say thank you and give a mighty appreciation for the blessings of being able to produce the show this morning. If some of you all were a part of my post-fight show last night, you may have heard the difficulties I ran into. I was able to get those things sorted out. I used a little bit of my experience of when I've had some problems arise in the past, and I found a solution to the reason why I could not upload my show, my live stream, from my streaming software like I normally do last night. So I went over to StreamYard to produce the show, which I don't necessarily like to produce those shows on StreamYard. I have my reasons, but we are back, and that's what's most important. Thank you guys for being here with me. We have a few people out there this morning. Want to take some time out and acknowledge you guys coming into the building. I know that there's some other shows going on this morning. Information being dropped. Some channels is dropping some videos and whatnot. So we might have people filing in and out, and I understand that. Thrill Hill in the building saying salute Stormy B. Antonio MMA is out there saying happy Sunday, Sensei. Let's go. Yes, sir. Mr. Pac-Man 216 in the building saying salute big dog. Grail Sobel is out there saying salute to you, Stormy. Right back at you. Hamza S in the building saying salute Sensei at Stormy B Man. Salute to you, Hamza. Mugan is back saying salute Stormy and the chat. Who else we got? Andrew Gray out there giving the peace sign. What's good with you, Andrew? Big Texas, ATX, Cletus Smith in the building. I appreciate you, Cletus. And Brown on Boxing is back with us saying salute, Stormy. Salute to you. Man, did you guys see, and I know I talked about it a little bit last night, but dude, what the hell is going on with Jack Reese, man? I can't let that go, man. I can't let that go. This man is always imposing himself on boxing matches. It doesn't matter if he's refereeing a major fight, like a Tyson Fury when he challenged Deontay Wilder for the first time, or if it's some guys that are prospects, or in the event last night, a couple of contenders in Fondura and Ocampo. And he's always doing these things outside of what a referee's responsibility is. And I can't help but to go back to what he said after the Deontay Wilder fight with Fury the first time. He felt like he was doing what was for the greater good of boxing. Well, I never was informed that he was officially knighted and anointed to solve ring problems. But somebody needs to pull a coattail and say, hey, this man no longer operates under the etiquette of the sport. He is independent now. You know what he's like? He's like a rogue agent. Remember Agent Smith in the Matrix films? He basically led the rest of the agents until he started thinking on his own and thought outside of what the agents represented. That's when he told Neo, I'm unplugged. I'm a new man, so to speak. Like you. You know what I mean? In other words, he broke away from tradition. He broke away from the disciplines of what the responsibilities of the referees are. And he's doing his own thing. And it will cease immediately. Check this out, people. It will cease immediately if the announcers addressed it. I ain't talking about like last night. They were like, hey, what is he doing? Blah, blah, blah. No. If they say what I've said, what I've been saying, what I said last night about the fact that too many occasions now, this man has operated outside of the parameters of the sport. And it makes corruption really show its head, because he's not doing this on his own. He's been given a green light. Now, check out the corruption in this. If he's been given that green light, who's given him the green light? Huh? Now you get to the significance of why the broadcasters need to address it. Now you get to the significance of why cornermen and a promoter, especially a promoter that's not the house fighter promoter, because you can see at any given time this man may enact certain actions that could be detrimental to your fights and how they turn out, or your particular fighter not making it to the final bell. And it has nothing to do with the opponent stopping him getting in trouble, him being injured. But this man can affect a fight in many different ways. And you heard him say last night that we're not taking any points away, but you officials, this corner needs to be fined. What is that? What is that, people? All of a sudden, he's boss hog. And he's out there giving referendums and everything. And what? Putting bounties up on corners and stuff. It's like, who gave him this green light? The sooner that question be answered, the clearer the path to getting rid of this guy will be. It has to be addressed, people. It has to be addressed. Remember, I said this last night. I said, this is something we need to stay on top of. We don't need, for him to be like, doing these things and we just talk about it, after the fight's over and be like, hey, did you see that crap that Jack Reese pulled? No. We need exactly what he's asked for. All the stage lights, all of the cameras and microphones focused up on Mr. Reese. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Huh? because he has put himself out there now. Huh? He's on stage, center stage, curtain drawn. Now it's time to dance, bruh. And I'm talking about putting it on him, because he's trying to do something that we haven't really seen in the sport. He's trying to affect directly the outcome of a fight right there in the ring, in his time and in his mind. In other words, he's been given the green light to ensure that whomever the PTB wants to have advantages and everything, you be the enforcer. You're the guy. Really? Well, if that be the case, who's telling him that? Who has empowered this guy with that type of authority? We need answers. And that's what the conversation should be. We need to know what's up with that. Seriously. Are we going to just go ahead and pretend like it's not happening? Remember, you have more power and authority than you realize. When you can get out there and express your displeasure with the sport and all of its corruption that we're witnessing, that you have an individual such as Jack Reese, who inserts and interjects himself into matches, especially when there's no need for his presence outside of separating the fighters, counting if someone goes down, making certain that low blows are addressed and foul actions are addressed. He doesn't need to come to someone's corner, coaching them up. You got to throw some punches. You got to put something on those punches, or otherwise I'm going to stop the fight. What? The only time I've heard a referee properly address a fighter that may have been in trouble when they're, kind of on the receiving end of something, and the ref will yell, "Hey, show me something. You got to come back." That's understandable. If you don't want me to step in and give you a standing 8 count, if you don't want me to step in and stop the fight, do something to show me that you're here, that you're present, you're in the match, you're engaged, you're dialed in. That makes a difference there. But going back to a corner, threatening people and yelling at their, and let's not forget this aspect of it either. I'm going to look something up real quickly so I can make my point as solid as possible, so we know when I make this point. Let's see. Do you guys know that they list him as an actor? But I'm getting to something in particular here. He's been in the movies Creed, Ali, and Daredevil. He's been in SWAT. But he's only played referees pretty much. A realtor. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something specific. He was born in Brooklyn. Uh-oh. Drew Titan ain't gonna like that. He was born in Brooklyn. Let's see. I'm still looking up some things, people. Hold on 1 second. Dude, this cannot be right. This cannot be right. This man is 1 year older than me. But you see how he looks, right? Born August 21st, 1964. Wow. Wow. I'm done. I'm done. Now, where I was going to go was when he went over and talked to those men in the corner, because Ocampo's men and himself, they're from Mexico. Even though he spoke some Spanish to them and the way he addressed them, it was very condescending. And I took it in offense because I detected some prejudice there. I did. And for someone who may not understand where I'm coming from with this, it was how he presented himself, like a bully. And see, that's why I suggested last night that someone may need to go upside his head. I'm even more affirmed in the thought process of that, people. 56 years old. You got to be kidding me. You know, I thank God every day for all of this. You understand? No. Prejudice, bias, bigoted, corrupted is a new addition to those three terms. Corrupted, because that's exactly what he is. Corrupted. A lot wrong with this guy. A lot wrong with him. But it's time for someone to start talking like they need to talk regarding Jack Reese. And it begins with commentators. You have to call him out on his stuff. You have to start saying he has a history of something someone needs to look into. That's why they removed Teddy Atlas from ESPN. Because when he was going along with the program of in-house fighters being successful, whether they were on the level or whether it was under the table, that was okay. But when he began to speak out on the corruption and the poor officiating and people having inappropriate relationships with judges and promoters and fighters and things of that nature, and referees going to dinner with people, Then it's like, well, Teddy, your services are no longer required. The thing that I didn't like is that Teddy allowed his own personal biases come into not allowing him to be the best that he could be. But he's a very intelligent man. He really knows the sport of boxing. He knows a lot about the character of fighters. He knows a lot about the character of people, because coming up under the tutelage of Custody Amato, you would not escape understanding that aspect of dealing with people and what makes them tick. He knows that. That's why it's so disappointing that he still hides his hands, and he'll be very limited, even if it will benefit someone that he has bias against. I don't like that. You know, you hear this word a lot in present day, transparency. But don't forget that during the past presidential administration, there was a term that came about, alternative facts. And people started buying into that foolishness. Alternative facts. Do you know what that actually means? If something is fact-based, alternative facts is something that is in opposition of that. It's the opposite. It's opposing it, meaning lies. But when you use it as a term like that, it can sound special, right? But it doesn't. I told you guys, read for yourselves. Look words up. Comprehend is the other aspect of reading. Know what you're talking about. So transparency, this term now, this thrown around a lot by people. Well, with actual transparency, things can be a little bit, on the up and up. Really? Listen, man. According to Oxford, transparency, an image, text, or positive transparent photograph printed on transparent plastic or glass, able to be viewed using a projector. The condition of being transparent. In other words, lucidity, being able to see through something. Glassiness, to be able to view from one side to the other. So people are using that term a lot these days. But they're covering up and hiding and lying more than ever before. You see? Alternative facts, transparency, it goes hand in hand. I say these things because I want you to understand how the certain type of influences in society will allow you to be preconditioned to either respond appropriately or not at all, and be subjugated to what comes behind those actions. Jack Reese should have been dealt with a couple of years back when he made that remark. He felt like he did what was best for boxing. You son of a gun. Who authorized you? Who gave you that? Nah. You see? Got to be smarter than that, people. So in last night's fight between Ocampo challenging Fundora, what we were able to witness were two men who were testing one another's wills. And neither fighter were proficient enough to technically overtake the bout. They both did some positive things in there, but neither had the glaring advantage to just turn back the other man. But when Reese interjected himself late in the fight, I believe it had an effect on Ocampo and his camp. I believe that. When Fundora came out, he came out trying to box from distance, which I thought, okay, let's check this out. Let's see what he has. But after 3 rounds, he could not do that anymore. It wasn't even a full 3 rounds. It was like midway through the 3rd round or whatever, he started going inside, getting close to Fundora and looking to battle in more familiar waters. Salute to you, Diana. Good to see you out there, sister. K-Rod is in the building. D-Ray Promotions in the building. T9's boxing class in the building. Kwee is out there. Salute to you, Kwee. Ghost in the building. Deacon Dollars is out there. Flawless Mentality, Dr. Mark in the building. I appreciate everybody that came in, man. Devin Blocker. But yeah. So with him impacting the fight like that, now you got people just enough to knock them off of their square. In those last rounds, rounds 9 through 12, the fight had a real funny vibe to it, because between rounds 8 and 9, that's when Reese went to work on Ocampo's corner. And the fight did change. Now, last night, I bargained that he didn't do anything to Ocampo during the action because Ocampo didn't give him an excuse. So the threat of, oh, you got to throw something on your punches. What? You can't tell a man how hard to throw his punches or how not to. That's not your job, referee. But the fact that he said something, it caused a distraction. For an inside fight fought like it was for the majority of that fight after round 3, these two men, they battled. And their talent is right on the same level as far as me. And had they been closer in height, you would have probably seen a barn burner of a war. And the fight would have been a little bit closer. I do believe his ability to fight on the inside, but being so tall with long arms, got a little bit of different snap on his punches. Fundora has some advantages. Ocampo was sloppy late, which is why Fundora should have went back to the outside in the last quarter of the fight, Because remember, I said early on and midway through round 3, that's when he switched to fighting on the inside where more familiar waters. But had he went back to the outside, he would have had advantages over Ocampo that he didn't have early in the fight. Because Ocampo was tired, his hands was dropping. He could have stepped outside, start sticking him with that jab, and drop that left in there and knock him down, if not out. Now, last night I said I wasn't going to give the keys to what they could have done to win that fight by knockout. But this is boxing X's and O's when I talk boxing on this channel. I've always maintained a fighter who makes the adjustments to the adjustment usually has the advantage. Fundora adjusted to going back to fighting on the inside, and that's where the fight was fought the rest of the way. But what if he makes the adjustment to go back on the outside in the last third of the fight? And the other guy, who's a little shorter, hands are dropping because the fatigue is set in. Now you have advantages you didn't have early in the fight. Adjust to the adjustment. Boxing X's and O's. Boxing 101, people. When I do this, it's not because I don't know what I'm talking about. I definitely know what I'm talking about. You can go talk to some old veteran trainers. Give them some of my clips, some of things that I say. They'll tell you. A young man know what he's saying. I see you guys in the chat playing matchmaker. You need to play more of X's and O's and find out how fights can be won, should be won, don't be won. What you would like to see typically never happens in boxing. It'll happen on an occasion because that's the law of averages. But what Larry Merchant spoke about on HBO many years ago will always remain true about the sport of boxing. It is the theater of the unexpected, and that primarily is because a lot of what you don't understand or take a hold of goes on within the sport and you totally ignore it. Therefore, eliminating pertinent information that will help you see the sport more clearly. It's not a video game. That's right, Diana. Jack Reese has to go. He has to go, man. I am going to open up the call lines, see if we can get some calls to come in this morning. K-Rod, that's an interesting question. He says, Stormy, if you ever won the lottery, would you yourself change boxing financially? What would you do to change the sport? I would try to lead a serious charge in unionizing boxing for fighters, that they would have some type of a pension, or, you know, something that will go toward a benefit for them in retirement. That would be important. And to unionize the sport means that you would have to have a federal commission and things of that nature as well. And if we could bring men who have participated in the sport and had positions of respectability in the sport and appoint them where they can groom someone else to take over and be a part of the process going forward in the future, that would be something very cool. Very cool. Salute to my brother, Lars D, Punch Out TV, out there in that super chat. He says, what's good, Stormy, bro? Hey, man, what's good with you, Lars D? And if you guys didn't check us out yesterday, man, we cooked, Lars D and I, with our show, Kingdom and States. That's like the third episode of our show. We do that, and we're going to do it a little more often now. You know, and you guys will see us collabing, but it's a great show because he's able to provide boxing from the perspective of what's happening on the UK side of things, information that we're not always privy to, stories that might be information that can fill in gaps, because you'll get pieces sometimes when you're from a different part of the world. That's why that particular collaboration is important. You know? So yeah. But know that this is what we're trying to do. Main Event Mark, I see you out there, bro. But yeah, K-Rod, that's my answer to your question, which it's a good question, but I don't want to be the savior of the sport. I just want to assist with making the sport better for the fighters first and those who participate second. You remember, it has to be about the fighters first. Okay, we got 518 in the building. I believe that's K-Rod. What's good with you, man?
Hey, what's up, Stormy?
Not much. Just out here trying to call some attention toward Jack Reese, man. This dude is ridiculous, bro. And, you know, it's not a dwelling point, but it's important enough. More than fighters being injured and everything and not getting that proper addressed medical care, because someone like Jack Reese can affect the fight in a similar fashion. And he needs to be called out, held accountable, even suspended from championship fights, pending investigation of what his real motives are. That's what I got to say about him, man.
Yeah, I think Jack Reese should be banned from the sport. I never liked his actions, even at like lower level fights. Like, I feel like he favors a certain fighter to like not be held accountable for any penalty punches that they throw, and I think like when you look at his history, like he tends to go after fighters that are trying to like win the fight, and fighters that are fighting dirty, like he gives them like a free pass. And like I'll even use up the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight because that's the best example, but he basically like allowed Fury to like rabbit punch Deontay Wilder multiple times, and he didn't do nothing about it. But whenever when he throws something that's, you know, that looks quote unquote dirty, he goes after Wilder, and I'm like, dude, like, I think I'm not too sure if it's like a fair like assessment to throw the label on him of being racist, but I feel like he has like a racist mode of going after like certain fighters on the coincidental list where, you know, he uses like a certain bias to like, you know, officiate his refereeing.
Check this out. You use two words that I pair in threes. You use prejudice and bias. And race, what we actually use all three is racist. But this is the thing. Biased and prejudiced can be used more. See, racist, you know, people like to finagle their way around that. A person's particular beliefs and ethics belong to them. But what is on display is what everyone else picks up on. This is why I tell people you need to read, look words up, understand the true nature and meaning, what they are, because when you do that, you get a greater understanding. So when you speak them, you can speak them with impact and empowerment. See, so when I say that Jack Reese has displayed bias and he has displayed prejudiced actions, it's true. Now he could say, well, I'm not a racist. I didn't call you that. I described your actions. They were completely biased. Because did he ever go over to Fondura's corner and say anything? Did he ever threaten a fighter who was not the house fighter in a promotion, their corner, or go to officials sitting outside the ring and say, hey, these guys need to be fined? Who the hell is he? You see? That's prejudice and bias on display, because you're not saying it on equal part for everyone. You're saying it for someone. Go sit your ass down, Jack Reese. You're not welcome in my sport of boxing. And I want other people to say this with me. It's not like I'm leading a lynch mob. I'm trying to get you guys to help in assisting cleaning up the sport of boxing. This is all rooted in corruption, people. Corruption. Because like I said, who the hell gave him the green light to start taking these actions upon himself? When you get that answer, then you'll understand where the path of corruption leads to.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you find the fight last night, K-Rod? What did you think of the bout?
For Fundora and Ocampo?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a good little, you know, it was a good brawling beatdown. It definitely was, you know, exciting. But I think Fundora looked very, very exposed, and I thought Ocampo, he could have done way better by just forcing his power shots to the body, because I felt like he just abandoned that like mid-rounds leading into the late game, and I think he could have stopped Fundora to the body, especially if he just broke him to the body and drilled more uppercuts, you know, with those downstairs, you know, punching combinations. But I thought Fundora, you know, he didn't look like his absolute best. I do like him as a fighter, but I don't think he beats any of the top 10 upper echelon fighters. I think that he has to be determined, and I think Fundora, you know, he needs to just, you know, take his time, you know, with his punching, and he needs to start fighting tall. Like he needs to stop like mixing, you know, it up on the inside, because I don't see that as an advantage. I think that's a massive disadvantage, because usually taller fighters that fight inside the pocket end up getting hurt with shots that they don't see. So I think if I'm Fundora, if I have all those advantages with being tall, you know, like 6'7", like, you know, you should use your height and reach advantages over your opponents, because you could easily stop them with with a simple jab combination. Like I don't understand why he doesn't do that. I would heavily blame his father, because I don't think his father's really teaching him anything different, and he just seems to fight almost up the same way every single time he fights. So I think a better trainer would also help his, you know, skill set rise, and he needs to get that defense up, because I think he would easily get knocked out if he keeps getting hit like that, especially by guys that are more heavy-handed punchers, and, you know, they're not afraid to actually let their hands go.
Yeah. 1 second here. Trying to get my mic volume here. Yeah, I think that they don't know, his coaches that he has, they don't know how to train him to they don't know how to make him, you know, a better fighter from different points of distance. And that's why he's going to need someone else. That don't mean that the people that ride with him right now should be done away with, but they are very limited. How many fights does Fundora have right now? K-Rod, do you know his record?
Hold on, look, I'm looking at the box record right now. I believe he's at he's at 21 fights right now. He's 20-0 with that one draw to Jamonte Clark.
Okay, 20 fights under his belt, and he doesn't know how to box from the outside. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Did you guys hear me? I will say it one more time for the people in the back. And I noticed someone wrote in the chat that K-Rod's volume is a little low, but you guys will have to turn your audio up on your phones or tablets or television, whatever you're watching the show on, because I'm listening to the playback in my earpiece and I can hear them, and I've got that turned down low because it's coming through the internet. The phone line is coming through the internet, and I can't turn my laptop up anymore. It's at 100 on the volume. My speaker, my microphone, I actually have it open for both sides. So the audio that's coming from my laptop on this side that you see of my microphone, he picks that up. I can't make the volume better. But I'll appreciate if you guys do your part. Turn your items up. Huh? Ain't nothing wrong with that. Y'all blast that damn nasty ass music that you listen to all the time that runs me into the shit house. Huh? That stuff you blare, I hear it coming out your earpieces when you walk past me on the street. Huh? So turn the damn audio up while you're listening to the show. It ain't gonna hurt you. Anyway, back to what I was saying. K-Rod, he ain't going nowhere because he's too limited. Okay? He's too limited. There are guys he can defeat. He'll be able to do that based on physicality, the advantages he has and things like that, and pure sheer matchmaking. But in order to be a complete fighter, he's going to have to be able to box from distance. And they haven't taught him that in 20 matches. And if he keeps fighting these type of battles, he ain't got 20 more matches in him, because the body will break down and he'll be eating mashed potatoes and everything on a regular basis and Gerbers. You understand? Because his brain gonna be like mush. You can't fight like that for a career, no matter what people think. There's a reason that it's called the sweet science, people. And a man that doesn't do something well, you better believe that the more experienced fighters will be out there happy to take on this fighter because of what he doesn't do well. Because that's where their advantages will be, especially if it's a more versatile fighter. So if he doesn't opt to get someone in there to assist with him becoming more of a complete fighter, where he can fight at range, outside, and from mid-range, he's going to be in trouble. Go ahead, K-Rod.
Yeah, I agree. I even feel about the same way towards his sister, too, because I don't see anything different. I think she fights a little bit slightly better than him, but either way, Fundora, he just, like, I just think he's like a walking punching bag. I don't think he's that good when it comes to moving his head. Even in the Lubin fight, Lubin just needed to move around more, and he needed to drill his jab downstairs before landing any power shots to headhunt. And I think he blew that away because, he just didn't, listen to his coach enough, and he just didn't, become defensively responsible. But Fundora is not this, ultimate, walking, towering inferno that people make him out to be, because if he was, like, the towering inferno should be using his towering, ability, gifts. So I think, like, for that type of height and reach advantage that you have, it's like, you should automatically use it in any fight, because, like, Fundora definitely has, like, that good, model of being, like, a tall, lanky boxer puncher, but I just think he just, like, abandoned that, that idea of, like, getting to that, level. So I think sooner than later, like, it's going to come to a point where somebody's going to figure him out very quickly, and I think, there's plenty of fighters, in the top 25 that could, like, easily defeat him.
Yeah. It's something that it's something that can be done. It can be taken care of. But they're going to have to want to do this for him. And if they don't want to make the changes, it's not going to happen. It's not going to go down. And I've seen a lot of times where these guys think that they got a guy who's kind of special. He's on the right track and everything. And they're afraid to make changes because they don't want somebody coming in and getting in on the money and stuff like that. It's like, man, listen, if you're going to be backing this kid, you want the best for him at every opportunity, even if that means that you have to bring someone in who's a little bit more capable than yourself. I've seen this so many times in boxing. And I love to use Lennox Lewis as an example. Lennox had some professional people with him. He had his Olympic coach who transferred him to a professional coach from the UK, and his professional coach was okay, but then he went and got someone who had been around world champions like Jose Pepe Correa, and he was good, but only so good. When he lost to Oliver McCall, he realized that Oliver McCall wasn't even on his level, but knocked him out. So what he did was he went and got the guy who coached Oliver McCall to the victory over him, and that happened to be Emmanuel Stewart. Now, I don't know if he picked Emmanuel because Emmanuel assisted in McCall having the victory over him, or had he just had his eye on Emmanuel because of Emmanuel's success and his resume of working with successful fighters. But nonetheless, whichever it may be, you would have to ask Lennox those specifics. But he got with Emmanuel, who made a big tremendous difference in his career going forward. He became a 5-dimensional fighter under Emanuel Stewart. And guess what? He was well into 20-something fights in his career when he did that. So it can happen if the fighter wants to be better. But you have to want that as the fighter. No one can want it for him. He has to want it for himself. That's why Anthony Joshua is such a disappointment. Because Anthony Joshua is listening to everyone around him. He's allowing them to take him through the woods, but they don't have a compass. They don't have a flashlight. They don't have a machete to cut down the greenery around them. They're just marching through. It's snakes, crocodiles, mosquitoes, everything out there, leeches, and he getting consumed by every damn thing. Think about it. Great analogy, isn't it? Yes, it is. You're welcome. Go ahead, K-Rod.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that's where the egoism plays in, because you think that nothing's wrong with you until somebody figures out those broken puzzles in your game, and eventually, you get like annihilated very bad. So I just think it's just better for Fedor's skill set. I don't see any other improvements he can make other than just find a different trainer, and then you'll be better. So I think he could do it. I think he can elevate his skill set with like a better team around him, and I like to see that happen sooner than later, because he has like a freakish archetype in his physicality, but just to add more better skills on top of that, he would like evolve like way better. So
yeah, but Antonio MMA says, Sensei, but he can't box on the outside. I never said he could box on the outside. I've said the opposite. He can't. And I said, therefore, he ain't going nowhere. You have to be able to box on the outside, man. At some point, even if it's a little bit. You don't have to fight a whole fight from the outside, but you need to be able to fight half of a fight on the outside, just on being capable. There will be people who are stronger, more powerful, more physical, more skilled. What will your answers be to adjust to that? Lay on the inside and take uppercuts and body shots and head shots and everything? I told you it's a short life doing that shit. There you go. Let me pause real quick, K-Rod, for a commercial break I got here. We got to get this in here for my man Focus Ball.
Get ready to take your striking game to the next level with the Focus Ball. Dramatically improved footwork, timing, head movement, hand-eye coordination, reflex, and overall fight IQ. It's lightweight and extremely portable, so you can train every time, everywhere. When you don't have a coach to do mitt work, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a heavy bag to hit, get a Focus Ball. When you don't have a sparring partner, get yourself a Focus Ball. And when you just want to have fun punching and kicking, get a Focus Ball. When you train with the Focus Ball, you train your eyes and your brain to read punches so that you can hit and not get hit, making this very simple device a must-have for all combat sports athletes and enthusiasts alike. So if you want to take your striking game to the next level, don't wait. Get the Focus Ball now.
Shout out to our brother Focus Ball, man. He's doing it, man. He got a fight coming up and everything. But that product he has, man, hey, if you're a fighter, you should invest in that. Even if you're not a fighter, but you want to work on your ability to react and move and have agility, that's a nice product, man. I endorse him, man. That's big time. That's why I wanted to get his commercial on my channel here so I can help promote the brother. That's good stuff, man. But yeah, K-Rod, what else you got, man? Because we're gonna move this along so we can get some more callers in. What else you got?
Yeah, the final thing that I was gonna bring up was the co-main event with Carlos Adames and Juan Montiel.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask, did you agree with that stoppage, or did you think it was justified?
Well, it was a good stoppage. He was on his way to being nailed into the canvas like a nail in wood, man. It's just that once Adames smelled blood in the water like that, and he went after the guy, he was looking to finish him off. If you're a fan of, Montiel, you would say like, man, I wish but Montiel had an opportunity to try to open up himself. Remember, that fight was starting to heat up, but he got nailed a couple of good shots that shook him really badly. He didn't go down, but he was about to be pounded into submission. And that referee jumped in there and stopped it it was at a decent time. If you're bloodthirsty, you want to see him on his back and out. But I don't think that was necessary in that instance. But Montiel was not going to, he wasn't going to come back from what was happening there. And I remarked last night, I said that Adames was probably taking it out on Montiel because he came in with such a terrible haircut in that fight, and he was like, man, I got to look like this on Showtime. He was like, somebody got to pay for this. so he went out there. But hey, man, it was starting to heat up. It was, the first round was real boring and everything. Then they got to moving in there and throwing punches. But hey, he didn't give that guy a chance like Maul did. Maul let the guy thrive and survive and start hamming it up and all of that. He didn't get to ham it up last night. I made the comment also last night that when he got hit with those right hands, his eyes was rolling in his head like a slot machine. You could see he was hurt, man. He'll live to fight another day. Sometimes when guys get bested like that, you talk about referee stoppages and stuff. It's only because of people like Jack Reese that conversation is a conversation. I don't think that ref did a bad job stopping that fight like that. That guy was being pounded on. But what the hell was Jack Reese doing? Telling this man who's engaged in a fight that's pretty much even-handed going back and forth, you got to show me something. You got to put something on your punches and all of that. Well, in what area do they do that? Go sit your ass down somewhere, Jack Reese. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on that, K-Rod.
Yeah, I thought the stoppage was justified too. I thought Montiel was going to hurt, Carlos, but then Carlos, he was like, just, in kill mode, and, he just basically brutalized him like it was a Mortal Kombat session.
Yeah, it was. Man, you know what he looked like? He looked like one of those pit bulls when they tell him sick him. When you watch those videos where they train with the guy that got all the safety stuff on when the dog attacks, and they sick the dog on. That's what Adames looked like going after Montiel. Because Maul, I keep mixing the brothers' names up. Maul Charlo definitely didn't do that. You know what I mean? And for those out there to think, well, he'll do that to Maul, think again. You know what I mean? It'll be a nice fight to see them fight each other, but whatever was going on with Maul Charlo, I don't know, mentally, if he had personal problems, whatever, but he should have did that to Montiel himself. But we now see that there's some things going on with the brother. He need to get his butt in the ring and fight or do something or retire or whatever, because he got some issues going on. But yeah, those are my thoughts on that, bro.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate the call. So.
Yeah, appreciate you too, bro.
All right, talk to you later.
All right, peace. That's the man K-Rod. He usually kicks off the call-in show. Lines are open, people. Come on, give Stormy what you got out there. Conversation for the morning talk. Y'all know we got next week coming up. 3 big fight cards, man. 3. Huh? Haney Kambosos. I think that might be the first fight of the day because it's in Australia and it's a different time zone. So then we got Clarissa and Savannah. That'll be on ESPN for us on this side of the water. And then later that night, there's the PBC pay-per-view Fox broadcast of the return of Deontay Wilder taking on Robert Helenius. So the Nordic Nightmare. So we got some fights next weekend, man. Yeah, buddy. So who else we got out there? The phone lines are open. Feel free to call in, man, and let's talk. Let's talk on this boxing, man. If you got something to say about what was said already or something that we haven't touched on yet. If you got something to say about Jack Reese, man, come on, let me hear it, man, because I want you guys to be active on this, man. I'm begging that people take up this mantle. Okay, we got 682 in the building. Welcome to the show. Who's calling? What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Stormy? I had a different question on a different note. I got 3 sons, and I'm trying to, kind of just get them active and everything like that. And I wanted to ask you personally, if these were your sons, how soon would you put them in, as far as sparring wise? Because I got them, working on their punches and all of that and the running part of it. But how long would you hold them out, as far as sparring wise? And, what are some of the things that I should be looking for as far as, when they do want to start competing, before I let them actually compete?
Okay, I got a couple of questions for you. First of all, who am I speaking to?
This Jeff Smith.
Okay, Jeff, welcome to the show. I like for people to identify themselves because just because I see a number on the screen, I don't always know who that is. And, so.
I'll be in the chat every so often.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I got to ask you is, how old are the boys?
10, 8, and my youngest son just turned 5 today.
Okay, 10, 8, and the youngest one is 5. Okay. Now, how long have you had them in the gym?
My oldest son, 2 years, 1 year, and my youngest son, he just be tagging along, but he's been running and pushing up and all of that. So I know that he ain't quite ready for no competition, but he can whoop most 5-year-olds.
Okay, well, let me say this: if the oldest one's been in there a couple years, then he should understand what moving around in the gym is all about. He should understand that there's floor exercises and things of that nature. My thing about sparring is this. I don't believe in putting someone in the spar until they get down the disciplines of what coming to the gym is all about, because that's the first thing people want to do is get in the ring and spar. I mean, even for the guy that's going to the gym the first time, he'll be like, I'll try it. But you know what? If you don't know what the hell you're doing, why are you in the ring? Seriously.
Okay.
So I am it is my philosophy that I hold back on the sparring until they understand why they're doing everything that leads them to be in there to be able to spar. Now, what could be done between the 10-year-old and the 8-year-old is they could be introduced to sparring with each other if their size approximations are close. If they're not close, then I would say no. But the 10-year-old, is about time for him to be sparring, but I don't know how much work he's got in. I don't know how much floor exercises he's done. There's a lot of information that I don't know. But like I said, my philosophy is I don't put someone in the ring until they've taken on enough of information from me along with exercises, because you have to get the body prepared for being able to get hit or not get hit, because that's a part of the training and learning process. You ain't putting them in there just to throw punches. You're putting them in there to learn how to move out of the way of punches, block, parry, slip, bob, weave. There's a number of things that go along with this. That's why you don't play boxing. You see, every other sport, you hand the kid a football, he go run with it. You hand the kid a basketball, he go dribble and try to shoot. You hand the kid a baseball, he gonna throw it, or somebody gonna stand in the batter's box and try to hit it. That's simple, isn't it? Very simple. But in boxing, there's a chain of command that is supposed to take place to marry the guy into the actions that he takes, so he'll understand exactly what he's doing and why. That's very simple, but it's complex to some people, because they should say to themselves, they say, well, you know, shit, it's just boxing. Put the headgear on him, put him in there and let him go for it. Because I'm telling you these things for a reason. When you do start to put someone in the gym, put them in the ring to spar for the first time, do you know that their personality characteristics will be revealed once the bell rings? If it's their very first time, who they are will be on display right at that moment. And if you miss that moment, you don't know what type of fighter this person could or could not be, because you're not paying attention to what you're supposed to be looking at. When the bell rings, does he move forward, or does he start to circle, or does he take a step back? That's temperament right there. Did you know that?
I'm gonna be looking for it now.
No, but I'm asking, Jeff, did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, see, this is what I'm talking about. Now, mind you, when someone gets more experienced, they can have confidence so they can do different things. But that's a teachable moment, because the temperament is what you want to build on. You can't force somebody who's not an aggressor to be an aggressor, but you can take aggression away from somebody by putting them in a situation when they don't know what to do. Now, does it make sense to you? If I
appreciate that.
if
I know what to look for.
if I give you keys, okay, and I say these keys unlock the locks in the locker room. Well, you go in the locker room, it's 20 locks. But you're like, okay, well, which key is what? Does that mean you have to take each key and stick it in the keyhole and this and that? No. What you're supposed to do is you label or mark the keys, so you'll know where the hell you're going. Don't that make sense?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This is why I talk the way I do, because I want people to understand. There's a reason they call it the sweet science, man. Anybody can ball their fists up and hit the other guy. But how many people can ball their fists up and throw it at you, and you make them miss all day long, and they can't hit you, and they standing damn near right in front of you, and they're like, why I can't hit this sucker? That's because the one who's moving has been taught how to do so and why. And what you should be worried about is not the fact that you can't land, but what's getting ready to come back. Boom. You see?
Yeah. You know, I'm not interested in them necessarily being able to box, but as a man, you need to know how to defend yourself. And, you know, boxing is, I would say, the best science.
And that's why when you teach them properly, what I just last said, it ain't about balling your fists up and hitting the other guy. Teach him how to get out of the way of the shots. Teach him how to defend himself. And defending yourself ain't always being aggressive, hitting another person. Yeah. If a person put their hand on your shoulder and you don't want to be touched, you should know how to remove their hand so they never put it on you again. How about that? Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's not about fighting. It's about making someone respect your space. That's what that is, brother, when at the end of the day. And the sooner that you can instill something like that in a young man, a young boy who will grow to be a man, he will walk in a certain light of respect, and people will respect and acknowledge that. And there's a certain amount of discipline that comes with that as well. That's why when they teach martial arts, it's about defending. It's about protecting. It's not about going out there punching and kicking somebody. But boxing is a martial art. I've said this many times on my channel, but most people don't look at it like that. That's why they don't adopt the philosophy that I have. And not saying that my philosophy is best, but my philosophy is an understanding of a reciprocation of input, output. There is a joint action there. It's yin and yang, and people have to understand that. You can't have just one side. Otherwise, you'll be extremely limited.
I appreciate that, Stormy.
Yeah, no problem, brother. No problem. What else you got? Oh, okay. That's it. Okay, Jeff. Appreciate the call from Jeff there. I probably gave him an answer that he wasn't expecting. You know what I mean? But that's why you leave your cup empty. So when I get ready to pour the tea, you can receive it. Huh? Don't come in here and your cup full of that 1738. Huh? Because you ain't going to be no good. How about that? Ha ha ha. My man, Boxing and Barbecue. What's good with you, brother?
Hey, how's it going? Good morning, people. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well, man. How are you? Good to hear from you, brother.
I'm doing great. I can't really complain. I'm just listening to your show. I fell asleep last night, and I woke up right like around 3 o'clock my time, and watched the Pandora fight. And at the Pandora fight, then I checked my thing, and I saw you had came on, and I listened to the show, and you had me cracking up.
Yeah, do me a favor. Speak a little closer to your phone if you got it like on speaker or something, because you're kind of fading away and then coming back in. So,
Okay.
that's much better. That's much better. Yeah. So the audience can hear you. I hear you fine, but the audience needs to be able to hear you very clearly. So yeah.
Okay, I apologize. Let me know if I get low again. I got my headphones in. I thought that'd be better.
Oh, okay.
It's not.
Okay.
Take them out. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good right now. You're very strong and solid right now. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I was saying that I saw the show last night, man. You had me cracking up. You was talking to old boy with the haircut.
Well, yeah. I have to, sometimes mix a little humor in there and stuff like that. I like to try to make people laugh, man. I've always been a ham like that, but yeah, but still, it's like when you do that and you find a reason to, tap into something, because Adamus, man, he made a decision. He was like, man, I ain't gonna play around with this chump. Let me get this dude up out of here. You understand? And that's how it kind of went. And Montiel was trying to figure out, like, what happened. You understand? Oops upside your head. That's what happened. He wasn't gonna be in there like Maul Charlo. And see, that's another thing. I want to say this about understanding boxing. When a guy like Maul Charlo let that guy go deep in the fight with him, do you remember, if you think back on the fight, the guy was clowning Maul and stuff, and he was doing these little moves, shaking his hips at him, and it's like, oh, I'm in here with you and I'm having a good time, or this. Adamus jumped right on him and got him up out of there. Pitbull style. You see, that's what happens. When there was a time when Maul would have did that to the guy too, but he done, you got a few million in the bank and you got a nice home and all that stuff, and it's hard, like Marvin Hagler said, to be mean, get up and run and everything when you sleeping in silk pajamas, bro.
I didn't catch. I only saw like a few highlights of that fight, but I saw the man haircut, and said I had to make a comment.
That was a jacked up haircut, though. It was. I don't know what. He looked like somebody that trimmed a bonsai tree. You understand? When you see the Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi had Danielson trimming them bonsai tree, that's what his head looked like.
Yeah, but I did catch that Fundura fight though, man. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I like Fundura, man. I like his style. Would I like him to fight from a distance? I mean, yeah, but I still like his style, man. I like the way he fight and everything. And just like a good movie, you're enjoying the movie. Then next thing you know what I mean? Whoever directing the movie, they jump in and they do a whole bunch of dumb stuff, man. That's how I felt when Jack Reeves, hopped in there between the 8th and 9th round. I'm like, yo, what is you doing? You can't be doing that, man. And you could tell that the coach didn't appreciate it neither. You know what I mean?
Right, and you could see that it kind of it affected the fight. It did, and I spoke about Reese being given the word, to do something to help Fundura out, because remember, this was supposed to be a showcase for he and his sister. They never headlined a card together and everything like that. So someone put Jack Reese in the main event, and Fundura basically, they didn't bring Ocampo there to compete like he did last night. They brought him there to be a name that they could use as cannon fodder. But he fought better than they thought he would. And he fought clean. So you couldn't take no points from him. He didn't do any dirty stuff. So what the hell was Jack Reese doing? He even talked about fining the corner for spilling water in the corner. Where have you ever heard a referee tell the commission on in between round or whatever, stop the fight and walk over and tell them, oh, we need to fine these guys for spilling water? The water gets spilled in the corner all the damn time.
That was crazy.
All the time. And then he's going to tell Ocampo, you got to put something on your punches. Otherwise, I might have to do something. What are you going to do? It's like he's in a damn fight that don't have nothing to do with you, bruh. And you over here coaching and reffing? Get the fuck out of here, bro.
It was disgusting.
Yes, it was. And it needs to be more people talk about this, because, again, they keep bringing this guy back in these high-profile fights on the West Coast, and he has an angle. I don't like it. Pull his ass out. Bring someone else in. This is corruption, people. And I said, you need to question Who keeps bringing him in there? Who is the one saying we want Jack Reese in there? Who is that person? Is it Al Heyman? Is it PBC? Who is it? Because they need to change their temperature with this. Because it is outright, it's disgusting. And he has put himself somewhere where he doesn't need to be. It's like he's bigger than the sport. And he's a freaking referee.
From what it looked like, it looked like Ocampo, and Ocampo didn't come out in the late round either. It looked like from what I could tell, Ocampo, he was pacing himself, and I could tell, by the 7th, 8th round, his punches, they wouldn't have as much steam as it was the first round. Of course, it's going to happen. You're going to get fatigued, but as soon as Jack Reese came off of there, and then his coach told him what he told him, Ocampo, he pressed the gas a little bit. You could tell he pressed the gas.
Right.
And then by the next round, you could tell because he had pressed the gas, man, he was dead dog tired, man. He was dead dog tired.
And
11th round.
and look at it like this too, Boxing and Barbecue. He wasn't just tired from his output. You have to understand that Jack Reese put mental stress on him. He put mental stress on him that wasn't ever there in the prior in the fight. It wasn't there. Ocampo was competing as he should. But when a referee interjects himself in a way, and we haven't seen a referee do that before. So it's like when you see that, it's like it calls to mind like, okay, now the fighter has the opponent as well as the referee to deal with. No, it should never be that way. Never. This is why my call of saying someone needs to do and say something about Reese, because, again, remember, what if these are two young prospect fighters coming up doing something and a ref interjects himself like that? It's like you begin to think, is this how the sport is? Is this how things go? You see what I'm saying? You don't train and prepare for that because your coaches and trainer ain't never told you nothing about that.
Yeah, that was, just like you said, though, he went out there after the coach said what he said, he went out there and tried to, press the gas a little bit, and that could have, that alone could have left him open to get, hit by Pandora. Like you said, man, something was going on. I don't know, who paid the man or, what happened during that fight, but, and then just like you said, you don't go out there and talk about, yeah, he needs to be fine. Like, what the hell is going on right now? So I was in my house, I know my neighbor's like, what the hell? It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. What the hell is he doing over there? Man, it was crazy. I lost my mind. I lost my shit. I'm like, yo, you just ruined this fight for me. You ruined the fight for me.
Yep. And that second part that he did when he went over there and told them, we're not taking no points, but these guys need to be fined. I'm like, I'm looking at the TV, man, and I'm like, this son of a gun. I'm like, wow. And I've watched a lot of boxing, bro. I've seen some real bad things. I've seen a referee help a guy who being battered in the ring, pick him up and walk him around and talk to him and everything. This wasn't recent. This is like an old fight. It happened recently too, because history repeats itself. But this was like in the 40s or something. A guy was getting his ass handed to him. 2 white dudes fighting. And the fighter that was getting knocked down and stuff, the referee helped him up, dusted his gloves off. He was talking to him, asking him, is he okay and everything. Did everything but give him a damn, medical exam in the ring before he let the fight commence. I'm like, what the hell is this? So we've seen some funny shit in boxing, bro. But what Jack Reese is doing right now, man. Because he's doing this independently. It's not like it's a group or, or something. It's like every time they put him in these main features, is something going on with him.
Yeah, at this point, I don't really need, like you said, it's got to be, like, I don't know if you said it last night or if you said it today, but, the only way that kind of stops it. You know, the fighters kind of band together and, you know what I'm saying, say, hey, man, if he going to be my ref, man, you know what I mean, I'm not going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? But, of course, you know, these fighters, man, they, you know, and I'm not making excuses for them, but, you know, a lot of them, they ain't really get paid like that, and, you know what I'm saying, they be scared, and, you know, if I back up out the fight, then, you know, I might not get another fight, blah, 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 you know what I mean? But,
listen, you know, let me hold you on that for one moment, because decisions, sometimes you have to make the tough decisions. Think about it like this. You're scheduled to fight a guy. You got the weigh in. The guy don't make weight. Now, they'll ask you, he ain't make weight. Do you still want to fight, or you going to give him a hour or 2 hours to come back and make the weight or whatever? And say it's a situation where the guy ain't going to be able to make the weight. Like Shakur Stevenson didn't want to go 2 hours and come back and drop off that 1.6. Okay, so let's just say this is the case. If you decide not to fight, the fight is off, right? Right. Okay, well, if you take a stance against a referee like that and you're in a top tier fight, like you're challenging for a title, it's a world title fight, it's a big fight between two contenders or whatever, and they tell you that your referee is Jack Reese, you could say all bets are off. You could take a stand. Now, again, is that going to cost you? The same as if the guy that didn't make weight. It's going to cost you all the same. But are you willing to live on your feet, or are you going to, you know, suffer on your knees? Which are you going to do? Sometimes life is about making those tough decisions like that. And when you do it as a unit, then you know that it's not personal. It's business. It's like this guy has done this too many times for fighters to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to it. You cannot just look at him and be like, you know what? It's okay. That's just Jack. No. No.
Yeah, you know, I don't know, but you know, nonetheless, it was a decent fight, man. But I just hope, I'm not gonna get into next week's fight. I just hope that we don't have any situations next week, because we got too many good fights next week in order to, you know, what I'm saying, for something shady or, you know, stupid to happen with the referees or anything like this. So, you know, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the call-in show on Sunday, because we're gonna have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Listen, I can guarantee you that something's going to happen in one of those fight cards next week, or it might be something in each fight card next week. But something is going to happen that we're not happy with. I can almost assure you of that. No, I'm serious, because each fight card is under suspicion. Devin Haney has been asked to take 2 fights in Australia when he didn't need to do that. They're bringing him back a second time for a fight that ain't going to sell diddly poo, because George Kambosos ain't good. He ain't. Devin Haney is, but he's not. Who wants that? Nobody. Clarissa Shields is being asked to go over into the hot den of PED cheats and corrupt people in the sport of boxing. Savannah Marshall has a convicted felon who just became a part of her camp a couple of months ago. Why? Why? A convicted felon, a guy who was in jail for some nefarious dealings, okay, allegedly, and then Marshall is still being trained by a Fury and has mysterious punching power. I wish that people would help me make that make sense. And Clarissa is being asked to take all of her titles and go over there under those circumstances. And we know she's good. We know she's capable. We know that she's world class. But she's over there now for this promotion. And that don't mean that deception, thuggery, corruption, and cheating won't be a part of the promotion. That don't mean that. It has happened on our soil here. It happened to one of our great champions here. So what do you think can happen over there? And then when you think about the Wilder card, there's some X's and O's in that fight that we are going to basically be sitting on pins and needles to see if everything is going to be okay with Champ. Because we don't know. We know prior to the trilogy who he was as a fighter. But we don't know what is the fallout for the trilogy. Because you could say I'm good until something happens. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just being open with the fact that understanding what they have done, bro. And let us not forget, as successful as he has been, Champ was still victimized in front of the world. And nobody stood up for him. Nobody. And when I say nobody, I'm not talking about us. You know what I'm saying? I'm wearing my shirt in support of him right now. But I'm talking about, sports writers, journalists, people who are professional and know about corruption in the sport. Nobody has said anything. They never addressed the gloves. They never addressed the injury. They never addressed the fact that something wasn't right in all of this, and they carried on as if it was okay. And it wasn't okay. It'll never be okay. Let me just say this, and I'll let you go. When Julio Cesar Chavez got his victory over Meldrick Taylor, with 3 seconds to go in that fight, Richard Steele stopped that fight. Meldrick Taylor was winning that fight. When they looked at the scorecards of the judges, Meldrick was going on to a unanimous decision. Meldrick was never the same after that fight. Never the same. Now, you could say that he was never the same because of the punishment he took in the fight. Or was it the death blow by taking the fight away from him with 3 seconds to go, not letting him hear the final bell, that just totally debilitated him? And no matter how much he tried to come back, that was a residual effect that was embedded. Because remember, if he gets up and wins the fight, he'll go to the hospital, go through the same stuff that he went through as far as what they had to do medically, because they said he swallowed about a pint of his own blood that night against Chavez. But coming out victorious would have still been a shot in the arm for him. And he would have been like, I still whooped his ass. You understand?
Yeah.
But he went through all of that and then didn't get the victory either. So we don't know how that affected him psychologically. We just don't know. But we know what happened thereafter. So, again, history has a way of teaching us things in the sport of boxing. And that's why I say the things I do, the way I do, and try to get people to look beyond what's just in front of your face.
Yeah, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Stormy. It's probably not the same. It's not the same situation, but I remember when EJ came back
from that wreck. You know what I'm saying? With Danny Garcia, I think I'm gonna be looking at that the same way when I see Deontay Wilder fight this coming up weekend, man. It's like I'm gonna be nervous as hell. You know what I mean? Just to, you know what I'm saying, see how he take the punches, see how he moving. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, you can always, you know, look in people's faces when during a fight. You know what I'm saying? Just their mannerisms to tell you. That'll tell you exactly what you need to know. You know what I'm saying? Whether or not, hey man, this is not the same man that it was. You know what I mean? Prior to the incident. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see, man. I hope. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm not gonna, you know, go too far into it, but I didn't want the man to come back anyway, man. I didn't think boxing deserved it. You know what I'm saying? I think they did him dirty. But you know what I mean? Just for anything that anybody that I support, man, if that's what you want to do, I'm gonna support you. You know what I'm saying? I'm a root for you. You know what I mean? So
right.
But we're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, I shared similar sentiments, you know, and I had already made up my mind many years ago when I threw my support behind him. It was win, lose, or draw. This is a man I will stand with. And if he had decided not to come back to the sport, I would just applaud him for whatever his next endeavors would be. You know, that's the way I had looked at it. But the fact that he has decided to come back, you know, I just wish him success. But I already know that given history and what I just explained, like about Meldrick Taylor and things like this, that there could be a story out of this that adds him to a list of things that will be another focal point to look back upon and be like, see, you do you understand? It's like that's what happens in life. This is why you understand. It's like one of the expressions from a Clint Eastwood movie that he said, it was a line of dialogue that he said that I always hold fast to. And it's like a man has to know his limitations. You know what I mean? And a man has to know his limitations. And when a man knows his limitations, he understands that what moves he makes, and if there are trials or difficulties that happen as he crossed those paths going forward, he's accepted the terms of having to deal with that. But at the same time, he can choose to not go that direction. You know what I mean? And that's just something totally different. So that's one of the things that I say, you know, is right there.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let you get to it, Stormy. I just pulled up, about to get off of here and make me some chicken noodle soup. I'm gonna let you get to it, man. I enjoyed this show, man, and you have a great day, great week.
All right, brother. You do the same, man, and make sure you call in again sometime. I appreciate you, Boxing and Barbecue.
All right, you take care.
All right, you too, brother. Peace.
All right, peace.
All right, that was my man, Boxing and Barbecue, in the building. Yes, sir. Appreciate that, brother. He's been on live with me, too. You know. Yeah, Jeff, I see you out there. Thank you. You're welcome, bro. You're welcome. What we got here? Okay, we got 443. Who's calling? What's on your mind? Welcome to the show.
Yo, what's going on, Stormy? It's Tyrell. TS Boxing.
Hey, TS, what's good with you, brother? How you doing?
Not much, man. It's pretty good. I was watching your show last night, and you got right to it. I mean, you didn't even talk about the fight. The first thing you talked about was the exact thing on my mind, Jack Reese. I mean, you had talked about this guy, I want to say, 2018, was it?
Yeah.
Even before that, I remember it was the Tank Gamboa fight.
Uh-huh.
Just on this guy, and I was just like, the guy's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I was watching last night, and they're like introducing Fundora, introducing Ocampo, and then said refereeing this out, Jack Roos, and I just said shake my head. I mean, it's exactly like you said. The guy thinks it's called wrestling,
Yep.
not boxing. He makes it about himself every which way. I'm amazed at body language. Oh, I'm going to stop it.
He can't help himself.
He can't.
And
he really can't.
And have you thought about it, Tyrone, to this degree of what I suggested earlier in the show today, talking about it, because I didn't say it last night, but have you thought about who has invoked that authority to him? Because understand, he has to have that green lit from someone. It's not, in other words, it's too much of a situation where if it comes back on you, it comes back on you alone, right? Because of the decisions you make. So my thinking is someone has empowered him with that type of authority. But who?
Yeah.
Huh? And when you get to the who, then you get to what's really going on in the sport of boxing. The corruption. I don't know of an official that does what he does without that type of ownership. That's like when the WBC's referees, when they make bad decisions, stops a fight too early, like that tall black guy who looks like Antonio Tarver. I forget his name. That referee escapes me at the moment. I don't have my.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I call him Tarver's brother or whatever because he looks like Antonio Tarver. But a few weeks back, he stopped the fight. Remember? Yeah, he
He was decent. I don't know what happened.
But this is the thing though. When the fight is over and the sanctioning body tells him he don't have to interview, they protecting him. So that means he's got that type of authority from the sanctioning body. You see?
Yep.
This is not the case with Jack Reese though. It's not.
Oh, he's a lone soldier. He's rogue.
Exactly.
The guy does whatever he wants, whenever he wants to do it. I was putting in the chat last night, but there was a ton of comments. People came in there and stuff. But I was like, I counted just 4 instances. So, and you said it. You said you've never seen a guy scream at a guy to get up like he did in Wilder Fury, or stop it too soon. He stopped. You probably remember this fight. Brian Perella, one who got a draw with Harrison, he fought Abel Ramos a couple years back, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got knocked down twice in the last round, and he was stopped on his feet in the last second of the last round in the fight. He was up on all the cards.
I remember that.
That Reese had the nerve to smile about it, and the corner got up, and they were about to beat his ass. But, of course, no one talks about it. We talk about it a little bit, just us, some people.
I remember that. I remember that. He had that shit-eating grin on his face. He waved the fight off, and the people were like, what the fuck are you doing? And he was like, and he just kind of like, put it in their face, didn't he? And he turned around and what?
He was proud of it.
Dude.
He would do it again.
Yep. I remember that. Man, I remember that. Yes.
It's all, I can literally go back. That's what I was thinking about making I got up this morning, I was like, I need to put some clips together, just Jack, the best of Jack Reese. I mean, I can find more stuff. He said the same thing with Tank Gamboa. I mean, he was up in there in Gamboa's corner. Oh, put your shoes on. What are you doing? And camera jobs just doing their thing. They're outside of the ring. It's showtime. Just, move your camera about. No cameras. No cameras. Fight is over. Just making sure he thinks in his mind that all 6,000-7,000 people in whatever arena he's in are there to see him. It's the Jack Lee show and no one else in his mind.
Yeah, man. And that thing about when Wilder knocked out Fury, first of all,
Oh, he screamed at him to get up.
when you remember just before you called and I was talking to Boxing and Barbecue, and I gave the example of the Meldrick Taylor fight against Chavez and how Rich is still stopping that fight with 3 seconds to go. You know, Chavez was halfway across the ring. 3 seconds, the bell would have rang before Chavez can come and hit the kid again, and the fight would have been over. But this is the thing. When Deontay Wilder dropped Tyson Fury in that 12th round, that knockout, and that's what I've always and will continue to this day to call it, that knockout was not only highlight reel material, but it would have put D in a place where you have to acknowledge his accomplishment and where he was at that time. Because remember, they were trying to say that he hadn't beat nobody and this and that, right? But he knocked that man out. That man was laying on the canvas with his eyes rolling up in his head, looking at the lights in the ceiling. He was breathing, but he was unconscious with his eyes open. It happens. I've seen it before. It happened that night. And Jack Reese got down. Jack Reese got down close to the guy and was yelling the count in his face. But what he was supposed to be doing, no, listen, and I'm not making a joke out of this. What he was supposed to be doing is looking at the man's condition, assessing where they were in the fight, and understanding that, you know, this is the 12th round. The guy is flat on his back. He's out. This fight is over. But he assisted in Fury waking up, attesting that he could get up to his feet. Fury leans his hands on Reese's shoulder, and he took his hands and pushed them off of Reese's shoulder. Told him, walk left, walk right, and let the fight commence. But Fury woke up like at the count of 8 or something. The fight should have been waved off. That was a highlight reel knockout. It would have put Deontay in a place of where recognition on that alone. To this day. You see what I'm saying? And that's what they took from him. Just like they took Meldrick's victory over Chavez from him. And I didn't like that. If it were on the other, if the shoe were on the other foot, Jack Reese would have waved that fight off as soon as Deontay hit the canvas.
Probably before.
Well, the only reason he couldn't before because he wasn't close enough. But when he got down, remember, he got down in one of my video openings. I got a picture of Reese standing over Fury, well, not leaned over Fury on one knee. Why are you down on one knee? The man is out with his eyes open. You're supposed to stop the fight. This is not me wanting victory for Deontay. Deontay took the fight in his hands and he did what he did. Jack Reese injected himself into that situation and turned it into something else. Now, I am of the firm belief, I will say this one more time. Anybody who has listened to my content may have heard me say this once before. Back when Nigel Benn fought Gerald McClellan, Gerald McClellan knocked Nigel Benn out in the first round. It was a first round knockout, people. Benn went down through the ropes on the canvas and was taking the count. The fight should have been stopped. He woke up because the ref was giving a long count. He was able to climb back in the ring and resume fighting. But all of that took longer than the 10-second count. It took much longer. And Ben fought the rest of that fight like he was on something. Now, I'm not accusing Ben of being on anything. Reports had already come out, after the fight and everything about different things. But what I'm likening to the circumstances is this. There are substances out there that some of these professional athletes put in their system. And when they have it in them, it is something that can respond to you like a shot of adrenaline. If you've ever been in crisis and you had to go to the emergency room, they'll give you a shot of adrenaline to bring you back, to make sure that you're good, that you don't fade, that you don't expire. Some of these fighters, NFL players, they've experienced this. Now, privately, they'll tell you about it, but publicly they don't, because that's not what you're supposed to know. Because if you understood the rigors of what some of these men endure into their bodies, then you'll be like, I'm not going to let my son play that sport. I'm not going to let my son. You see what I'm saying? They don't want that. But when you see Captain America on Marvel films, the super soldier serum and stuff like that, that shit is real. And it came from the Germans. It came from the Germans. They invented that stuff. And that's why they were banned from the Olympics and everything, because of what they were doing. Now, how does this equate back to Tyson Fury? We've seen Tyson Fury on 2 occasions, actually more than that, come back from situations where ordinarily it should be over. And it's almost like something kicks in his system. What is that? I can't tell you what it is, but I know it's not natural, because when a man is unconscious and he can wake up like that and resume, or a man has suffered, because if you saw his fight against Cunningham, same thing. He went down, he put his hands up like this, and then he snapped up and he got back up, like Frankenstein or something, or Michael Myers. Go back and watch it for yourself. The third fight with Wilder, same thing. Except for that third fight with Wilder, on those 2 knockdowns, the first one that showed the shock waves that went through his body, when you watch it on the replay, and you could see the power go through that man's body and he go down to the canvas. He was sitting on that canvas looking up like, do I really want to get up this time?
Yeah, that was probably the first time I saw him like that.
Yeah.
He just wasn't sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then he got dropped again. Then he got dropped a second time, and they still give him another long count and everything. So it's like, I'm telling you, there's something going on. We don't know what that is, but I'm going to tell you that it's unnatural. When Joe Frazier knocked Ali down in the 14th round of their fight, Ali went flat on his back. He was up at the count of 3 because he went down and he got right up off the canvas. That's normal. That's normal. But when you have a guy that's on the canvas and he has to think about it, or he's shocked back into the reality of it or whatever, then that's something totally different. And I don't say this for dramatic effect. I don't say it because it's like I'm trying to spread this sensibility. When you're looking at something and you can see something's not right, you might not have the information, but you're on to something because your mind knows what man is capable of and what man is not capable of. Did you see the movie Scarface at the end when he was full of all that cocaine and he had the shootout, right? Remember all those bullets he took, but he kept fighting. He kept fighting until they finally blasted him close range, but he was full of that stuff. And that was just supposedly cocaine, uncut, pure cocaine. But when we talk about this stuff that they giving, what the hell were they giving Conor Ben, bro? The guy looked like Wolverine. I'm telling you. He looked like, what was that? And they were going to let him go in the ring like that? And people are saying, he's like, we're going to clear my name. There was nothing. Dude, just say, y'all caught me. Just say I'm guilty. I messed up. You cannot tell me when you see those images of him early in his welterweight career and he looks like Michael Fox in the body. And now you see him and he looked like Carlos Takam. No. I ain't no damn fool. Salute to my man B-Mac out there in that super chat. He says Wilder would have tied Ali's record with 10 title defense if he beats Fury in the first fight.
He did. They count. Win. What's the count?
It was a draw.
Sure they count
It was a draw. So yeah, he still gets the defense. Yeah, but they robbed him of a highlight reel knockout that would have made them the stuff of legend, huh? Just like when Mike Tyson knocked out Michael Spinks in that 91 seconds, they always refer to that as that was Tyson at his peak. I don't think that was Tyson at his peak. Tyson never made it to a peak because he derailed himself. But that knockout is always a highlight thing. Well, if the fight ended with Fury on his back in that first fight against Wilder, that would have been the stuff of legend for Wilder. But look at what they did to him after that. They took all of that away. They took all of that away, man.
And that changes people's life. I was arguing with the decaf the other day. One was like, he's just a general boxing guy. Now, it was like, we watch basketball and stuff like that. So he was like complaining. He was like, he saw an Instagram reel. And he was like, man, these boxers don't fight with this, all this stuff. And I told him, I was like, when these guys, get close decision losses, draws, whatever, they lose fights or whatever it is, the business makes it, they don't fight often anyway. So it's very hard, especially today, for certain people to come. It's very difficult to put yourself back in a position. If they want you frozen out, they'll freeze you out. If they don't want you to win, you won't win. If they don't want you to get the fight, they won't let you get the fight. So a lot of people are in no man's land, but a lot of fans, I think, are just oblivious to that. They think that everything is fair, everything is good to go, and, nobody should say anything about it. And what you were saying about substances, right, the stuff that'll make people wake up, there was a fight, he fights at 130, Rakhimov. I think he's from the Eastern Bloc. I don't think he's quite Russian. He's like from one of those other countries. But he was fighting a South African guy years ago to be the mandatory. And he was losing that fight, even though it was a bit tight. He was losing probably by 2 rounds. And the guy, they were giving him smelling salts in between rounds to perk back up, to get up, keep going, even though he was tired, he would perk back up. And they end up knocking the guy out in round 10. They open up an investigation and nothing happened. So this stuff happens and people just close their eyes to it. I don't understand that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I talk about this, and it's like all you have to do is pay attention. Really. And let common sense come into play. Don't be influenced. Don't allow these network personalities and promoters and stuff like that talk that stuff in your ear. Just you're gonna believe your ears and your sensibilities, or you're gonna believe what they're saying. Because all it would have taken last night for those commentators was to really go in on Jack Reese, not just say, hey, what is he doing? That's a question, I've never seen this before. No, don't do that. Say, hey, this guy continues to associate himself with controversial circumstances, and I believe an investigation into his, intentions needs to be taking a look at. Say it that way, so it is honest and it's in before the people. Because when you say it like that, just like when I said what I said, what happens is it triggers your experience of memory of him. When I said what I said, you said it yourself in this call. You said, man, Stormy, it take me back to when you said a few years ago, 2018, blah, blah, blah. You see what I'm saying? It's like, because
I remember that.
Absolutely. When you are really being transparent, to use that word that I defined earlier in this show, when you're really being transparent, that's what you do. You snatch the curtains back and say, look at this. You see him in his nakedness. What is it? And you make people define it. If you don't do it that way, people will continue to be like, well, okay, that's boxing. And No.
No, it's not with this guy. Boxing is like, as far as, well, people say anything can happen, true, but it's like a stock market or anything else. There's patterns in boxing. Just like this guy is a bum and he, ruins fights over and over again. Just like resolves, different fights and things like that, we see patterns. So when this guy comes out and does everything he does, and people just, like you said, the commentary acted as if this was the first time they've seen this guy. They need to start saying, hey, this guy's been doing an investigation. I'm with you last night. Last night you flat out said, you said, hey, when fighters are approached by this guy's title fight, they need to outright refuse him. And if the commission still wants to push him, say they'll take their fight elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
They need to do that across the board to get this guy out of here. I don't care if he's worked for 30, 60, 80, 90, 200.
You know what? You know what you liken it to, Tyrone? You know what you liken it to, Tyrone, in chat, and anyone else listening? You liken it to a doctor who has malpractices.
Malpractice.
Because it's like when a doctor is still allowed to do things because the reports haven't come through, it hasn't been revealed that he's botched some surgeries or really messed someone up and cost someone's life. If you don't do that, he'll continue to go out there and harm other people. Well, what do you think Jack Reese is doing? He's doing the same thing. And if you don't take the proper stand, and remind you, it's not like you could be a guy that benefited from one of his circumstances. But always remember this about boxing, just like in football and basketball. There's a new guy coming up, right? Always. So you could be the guy that they took care of 4 years ago. But now here comes a new charge, and now Jack Reese is against you now. So you can't all of a sudden say, oh, well, he's being unfair to me. No, you acknowledge that he was unfair the entire time. That way, even if it's not for your benefit, fighters come together, like you just said, and say, he's refereeing this fight. I don't want it. I want my opponent. If we're on the same page, we want him removed from the fight. And the other fighter says the same thing. I don't want Jack Reese either because of what he's done in the past. He has a history that shows bias. Boom. There you go.
And once one or two fights start doing that, everyone will start doing it.
Absolutely.
Look at this. The Mayweather-Canelo, right? They made a big deal about the 114 person, right? CJ, whatever her name was, CJ Ross, because that was Mayweather. He did whatever he did, said what he said about her. She's done. She's never refed another fight. She never judged another fight. I just don't understand why they can't do the same thing with refs. People are getting hurt in there. People are getting robbed of opportunities. These are life-changing decisions. And you could tell just by the way he smiles, he loves being in that position. He just likes to ruin people.
Yeah.
That's his only thing, to get in there and just, if I can make some person's life hell, I will. Last night, I saw a comment, it was great last night in your chat. Somebody said, Stormy, do you think that because he told Ocampo bad body language, he had to be more aggressive and open himself to get hurt more. Yeah. Yeah. That's a life-altering decision.
Yeah.
Those are life-altering actions.
Absolutely. And I talked about the mental stress that it could have put on Ocampo, who didn't have that for the entire portion of the fight prior. You know, once the referee comes at, yeah, because now psychologically you're dealing with something that wasn't a part of your preparation of what you deal with in this fight. You don't know that you, on any given night, you get in there and your referee is Jack Reese. Now you're battling against the odds of something happening not in your favor with this man. And he has been known now and has shown that this is what he does. So he has a track record, which is why fighters now can stand upon that and be like, no, we don't want this guy. We don't want him. And they keep putting him in these Vegas cards and these California cards in the main events. Why? There are other referees that can referee championship caliber fights. What about the young black brother that's the comedian that also Pete Willis. He's a pretty damn good referee, and he's very animated too. He be in there watching the action, and he be scrunching his face up and stuff when people taking punishment. But he's never asserted himself.
Never overstepped his bounds.
Yeah, he's just been a referee, and I'm like, when I see this stuff, I miss Mills Lane. You know, I missed what was his name? The Mexican referee, Joe Cortez. I miss those guys because they were very professional. And Joe Cortez used to say, "I'm fair, but I'm firm." You know, it's like that. You know, even Richard Steele, he had a bad run with Don King on Don King Promotions, and I didn't like that. But you know, these were referees who were pretty darn good. You know, Carlos Padilla, the Filipino ref who refereed the Thriller in Manila and several other major fights. He was a very good ref. But these guys of today, you know, I can't get with it, man. I can't get with it.
Oh yeah. Then now we've got that reminds me. On the the Ortiz Martin card, Kaladze versus the Ukrainian guy, that Victor Vigorous or whatever.
Yeah.
That midget ref, he tried to get into it with Kaladze. Remember that?
Yep.
Oh, don't touch me. He was like pushing up on him against Cisco. I said, what going on here? I mean, he should have just hit the guy at that point. I mean, he's doing all that. I mean, what? What do we do now? Refs want to fight the fighters. I mean, they're getting tough. They're talking tough.
Yeah, man. It's really bad. It's really bad, man. And we need, you know, people to really wake up and see what's going on, man. We really do. So, but yeah, I appreciate your call, Tyrone. I'm going to get ready to wrap things up because I'm a little bit over my time. But at the same time, it was a great show. We had great talking points, man. And that's what I try to do with this call-in show. It's like we can find subjects about the sport. We can talk about the fights. We can talk about the participants of the promotions and things of that nature. And that's what the call-in show is all about. But you guys have contributed mightily today, and I appreciate each and every one of you who've called in today. You know, and salute to everybody in the chat, man. Great comments out there. I wasn't able to read all of them out over the air, but you guys have had some great discussion about what we've talked about today. So, yeah, man, don't be a stranger, Tyrone. Call in more often, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I come every Sunday now. I'll come. I'll start calling them more. This topic, I was really fired up because I know you were probably the first person that I was listening to who was thinking the same I was thinking, this Jack Reese guy is just a disaster.
Yeah.
For years, you've been talking about that.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you coming on and revealing that, because remember, my channel has grown steadily over the years. I'm only at 3,400 subs, but at the same time, the core of my audience has been very consistent too. Even if a number of them are newer subs. But if you go back into my archives, I talked about these things. I've been very consistent with that. And I appreciate you revealing that, because that lets people know, especially coming from someone who's been riding with me in this time you've seen. And I've never deviated from that, have I? I've always been consistent, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a fanboy of fighters. I don't come on here, oh, that's my guy. I don't do that. I argue for the sport of boxing. I don't argue for the individuals, because the individual participants, they come and they go. But the sport is here. And if you can't get the sport right, it's not going to be right for those who participate. It's as simple as that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. And, yeah, I'll definitely be back in your next show. We'll be in the chat again. So,
all right,
great
man.
speaking to you, man.
All right. Same here, brother. You take it easy. All right. Peace. Man, what a great call from Tyrone, man. TS Boxing, bro. See, this is what it's all about, man. This is what this show is about. I tell you guys all the time, you know, it's what it is. But we're going to get ready to get on up out of here. I'm glad we had the turnout that we had. We had almost 200 views out here. You guys were really supporting the day. And, you know, just know that we'll be back next Sunday. And next Sunday, oh my goodness, what is the conversation and topic going to be? With all those 3 fight cards on Saturday, next Sunday morning, it's going to be an awesome show. I can't just wait to see what it's going to be. I might not even do a post fight. I might just save it all for the call in. But no, I got to do a post fight. Got to do a post fight. So, but man, thank you all. I appreciate everybody out there. Y'all have a wonderful and blessed Sunday. Have a great week leading up to the big fights. And we'll catch you guys on the next one, man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we up out of here. It's been Answering the Bell with Stormybman. Show number 57, our Sunday morning call-in.